So I grew up in a Christian home. I had a family that loved me, a family that would pray with me, they would read the Bible, they would take me to church. I grew up essentially in the church. But as a kid, the way I saw it is I saw God was hypocritical, and I saw that Christians were too. And that drove me far, far away from wanting to follow the Lord, because what I was seeing is I was growing up in the church, and I was hanging out with other kids, and the kids in the church I assumed were Christians and following Jesus because they were there, not realizing that they were only there like me because their parents who loved Jesus were there. But that didn't mean that they loved Jesus. And so that led to physical violence and physical harm, and getting beat up from like the pastor's son. Sometimes he would just find me in a hallway and just start punching me in the stomach. And as a kid, that was really hard to equate that with God. And I know that there's other people out there that have had way worse hurt that came out of the church, and they equate that and they put that on the Lord. And it got to the point where I just got so angry and so hurt that I remember 12 years old, I remember looking up at the sky and I said, God, I don't deny that you're real. It was a Romans 1 situation where all of creation, I can't deny when I look at the sky and I look at the sea and I look at all the things around me and birds and me, that you don't exist. But I also can't deny what I see, and these people that say they follow you, they're not living like it. And so I believe you're a hypocritical God. I believe your people are hypocritical. And I want nothing to do with you, nothing. To the point where I said I'd rather spend an eternity in hell than spend a moment with a hypocritical God like you. It breaks my heart to even think those words that I said to such a wonderful God, but I said them and I meant them. I really meant them. And that led me down a dark and depressing path where I wanted to end my life. I didn't want to be here anymore. I had friends in the world, neighborhood kids that had access to drugs, and I was desperately thinking about starting to take them, even though I had been told, the whole don't do drugs and this will ruin your life. So I was really contemplating it, and by the grace of God, my family moved out of that area just around the time that I was really starting to seek that out. And we moved to a whole area where it was just a bunch of jocks, no access to drugs, just your all-American typical boys. By the grace of God, that's what I got. So because of that, I started looking for something to fulfill me, and I wasn't finding it, to the point where I just decided, you know what, life's not worth living. I don't want to be here anymore. And as a man that, as a kid that really appreciated people liking him and desiring to be popular and desiring to be remembered, I had set a date on the calendar in my mind for 2 weeks out, and I said, in 2 weeks, I'm ending my life. I was not joking about it. I was serious. But I said it for 2 weeks, not because I was being scared about it, but because I wanted to go out, being nice to those around me, leaving a memory of nice Charlie, because I wanted people to remember me in a nice light. I cared about my appearance even then. And so I said it for 2 weeks, and I was getting really close to that date, and something unusual happened. My uncle reached out to my mom, and he asked, this wasn't unusual, he'd take me fishing sometimes, but he asked if I wanted to come for the weekend and go fishing, and it was right around that time. And I thought, I guess I could push it off for a few days, I thought in my mind. So I said, sure, I'll go fishing, and I can always do it afterwards. Might as well have a little fun before we, pull the plug. Well, that ended up turning into, he asked if I wanted to stay longer, if I wanted to fish longer. And then he asked me if I wanted to go to the Shed Aquarium in Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, which was so cool. And he had no idea. I've asked him years later. He had no idea any of this was going on in my life. And I just kept putting it off. I kept saying, I guess I could stay. I guess I could stay. And this was very unusual because this wasn't normal for me to be able to be gone and staying away for so long. And I was gone for 28 days out of that month. And it just wasn't normal. But I just kept putting it off because I was having fun. And it was a miracle in my life because that was not normal. And the timing was so perfect. To the point where after 28 days I thought, maybe life can be fun. So even though I hate God and I hate most people and I think people are hypocrites and I am hurt and I'm depressed and I have a void that I want to fill, maybe there is some fun in this life worth living. So I came home from that thinking, all right, I guess I'm not going to do this, at least for now. That still didn't change my mind about God, and I was still very angry at him and the people that were calling themselves by his name. I had gotten into self-harm. I tried to conceal that so that people wouldn't know, and just different ways that I could hurt myself. Even for a little while, I'd even gotten into some cutting. And just the deep depression that a person can go when they reject the Lord and they just start hating people like that. Well, by the grace of God, the Lord brought my family to another church, and the pastor and the pastor's wife really started taking me under their wing, and they had some kids, and they were really, I could see a difference in those kids, the authenticness. They were true followers of Christ, fruit that I had never seen before. I was honestly really interested in one of them, and that it made a big difference in my life because it kind of had me bring down some walls. And because I brought down some of those walls, I started really looking into this Jesus thing. What do these people have to say? I noticed they're different. I'd like to fit in with these people, so I'd like to at least hear them out. And just seeing the difference. And the Lord used that in some powerful ways to allow me to hear the gospel and allow me to hear who the true God is and see who the true God is without all this hypocriticalness that I was seeing from fake and phony Christians that weren't actually of the flock. They were the goats of the church. And so I don't have an exact date that I bent the knee, but all I can say is I am just blown away that a God that created me, who I blasphemed and I cursed and I told him I want to die and I don't want to be with you ever, would save my life like that in such a miraculous way with miraculous timing, but not just save my life and spare me from ending my life short, but who would come in and he would show me his love, and he would show me that a wretched sinner like me who blasphemed him and cursed his name, that he loved him, and that he sent his son to die the death that I deserved, to take the wrath that I deserved. I deserved hell. In fact, I literally was essentially begging for hell, and he spared me from that. And I'm just so grateful for bringing the people into my life that he brought into my life to speak truth and to show grace and love to me. And God is so good. And I want to encourage those parents that have children that are growing up in the church. Remind them, tell them, hey, I love Jesus. People I'm going to church with, their parents, I love them and they love Jesus too, but just because they love Jesus doesn't mean their kids do. And so tell your kids that the kids they're growing up with may not be Christians either. And so they need to not take what other people's children are doing to them and put that on God, because God is holy, God is good, God is wonderful, and hopefully those kids are following Christ, but they may not be. I just want to encourage you that if you're looking at your kid thinking he's just so angry at the Lord, that there is hope, because God, He takes horrible, wretched sinners and He changes their hearts and He draws them to Him. And it's possible. It's possible to see the most depraved child in the world bend the knee to Christ.